The minute I think of a product idea, I instantly grab the Instagram account handle.
Oh yeah, you told me that you were like at capacity.
I'm at capacity. I am maxed out on all my Instagram handles. So for me, step one is the Instagram handle available when I have this brilliant idea for a business?
Do you have a brilliant product idea but don't know where to start to get it made? Or are you looking to level up your product but afraid to take it overseas?
If so, you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Jackie.
And I'm Erin, and we are
The Sourcing Gals,
your trusted guides to everything you need to know about sourcing, manufacturing, and scaling your product overseas. Whether you are just starting out or you've been making your own product for a while, we are here to help women source products overseas without the overwhelm.
In each episode, we'll share insider tips, actionable strategies, and inspiring stories to help you source more effectively, save time, and boost your profits. Duh! We know how hard it can be to juggle the ins and outs of product development, but don't worry, we've got your back.
So grab a cup of coffee, get comfy, and let's dive into how you can grow your business,
make more money,
and turn your products into profit. Welcome to
The Sourcing Gals. Now let's get started. High five.
Hi.
Tired of paying for international wire transfers? So was I, and that's exactly why I switched to Mercury. With Mercury, I never worry about fees for domestic or USD international wires. The platform is free, super easy to use, connects seamlessly with QuickBooks, and their credit card perks are hard to beat. I can spin out new cards instantly for my team, earn 1.5% cash back on all purchases, and right now they're even offering a 2.5% cash back on any ad spend. Terms apply. So stop paying fees and start putting money back in your pocket with Mercury. Learn more and sign up today using the link in the show notes.
Welcome back to another episode of
The Sourcing Gals.
Today's going to be fun. We've been talking about sending us questions, right? Ask us anything. And we received an amazing email. Shout out to Trixie, because it was not just one question. It was a mirage of questions and ideas like, oh my gosh, this could be a whole episode. And so literally we're turning one of her questions into a mini episode today.
Yeah, it was probably 30 questions, but there were so many great ones. There are some that we won't touch because we're not the experts in that field, but like a good portion, we were like, this is even too much for an Ask Us Anything episode. This is its own episode.
Yeah. So today that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about that. And also, again, shout out to Trixie. And for anyone else who has questions or thoughts, send us them. We are always looking for episode ideas. So today, Erin, I'm actually going to let you read out her question aloud because it was really good and something that we talk about with a lot of our founders. And it's really the beginning parts of building a brand.
Beginning. So her question is, how do I name my business? What makes a good name when it comes to domains, socials, competition, unintended associations, difficulty spelling, or help in understanding what the product is?
Okay, so before we get into it, I have a dirty little habit, I'll call it. The minute I think of a product idea, I instantly grab the Instagram account handle.
Oh yeah, you told me that you were like at capacity.
I'm at capacity. I am maxed out on all my Instagram handles. So for me, step one is the Instagram handle available when I have this brilliant idea for a business?
That's so funny because on my end, I will buy a domain.
Exactly.
Immediately. And just the other day, I was getting all of these charges from my domain provider. And I was like, these are domains that my husband and I have bought like 15, 20 years ago.
Wow.
Yes, that make no sense. I was just like offloading them, but then a few of them were from ideas that I was like, actually, I'm going to hold on to that one.
Keep on to that one. So that's funny. So literally the two things that we just spoke about is kind of where in today's world you probably want to start, to be honest. So GoDaddy.com typically, and literally, if you have never been on it, it's really fun. You just go on and the first box you will see is like, enter in your domain, and you literally type it in, hit enter, and it will tell you if it's truly available. And if it is, meaning no one's camping on it, which we can talk a little bit about that. But if no one has bought it previously, it could be as low as 99 cents.
Yeah,
$2.99, $4.99. So pretty low, assuming that no one has bought it.
And the other thing I will say about that, and we can maybe get into this in a little bit when it comes to even Instagram handles, but whether the domain is available or the Instagram's available does not mean that by trademark laws, you can still use that name. But if it is available, it's a good sign.
Very good sign.
And you just go hop on it, like buy it for 99 cents and then offload it in a month. Just remember to do it. And if you don't need it anymore. And so I've done that before too, where when I was ideating one of my brands, I bought a few different domains that had various versions of what I was going for, and I ended up keeping one.
So let's reel it back even further, because her question was really about how to even come up with a name. Like, what are some of the things that we believe are important when launching a brand, and what do we believe should go into a name? So it's a very broad, loose, there's a lot of ways to approach it, right? I do think sometimes when it is spelled easier, that is one less barrier for entry with someone hearing it audibly, whether that's an ad, whether that's on a podcast, whether that's someone telling you, oh, have you checked out this product? And then being able to actually type it and get to your website and domain. So I do think there is something, to be honest, about the sound of it and the ability to spell it fairly easily.
Correct.
And then also, I think a lot of it is not dissimilar to what we say about when you start your product journey. It's like, I believe it is really good to look at the market. See what other people in this space that are doing something similar to you, how they're naming. And I like to say name and claim it, right? How are they naming and claiming their products? So, you don't want to copy. That's not what I'm saying at all. You want to make sure you're differentiated, but also you want to make sure that it fits the space that you're trying to sell, the people, the market you're trying to sell to.
And I think that varies a lot between if you're building a brand that has an assortment of products or if you have a hero product.
Totally.
If you have a hero product, naming your product name and your brand name are typically the same. And naming that product or that item and your brand something that is very descriptive of what you're selling is typical. If you are having a brand, let's say you are the new athleisure destination, it doesn't have to make any sense. You don't have to name yourself like the new athleisure, athleisure 2.0 or something like that. Like think of brands like Lululemon and Alo. That means nothing. Maybe I'm sure it means something to the founders, but it doesn't mean anything to the customer. So if it's quirky, if it's just like a name for an assortment, that's very different than if you're naming an item that has a function that you want to communicate to your customer.
Perfect example, Scrub Daddy.
Scrub Daddy.
So Scrub Daddy started off as a single hero product. And now obviously there's Scrub Mama, there's so many brand. He has built brand. And now he's going into other categories and products. But his product, he had one single product he went to market with and slayed it. And so he named and claimed it. And just even thinking about Scrub Daddy, right? You understand exactly what it's supposed to do.
The big daddy of scrubbing.
Yeah, what it's supposed to do, the purpose, right? The point of it. So I think I love that idea though, Erin, to make sure you're understanding it from a brand standpoint. And so do you want this cool aesthetic vibe, right? What is the mood board? What does your Pinterest board look like for what you're building? Or is it a hero product? Is it something that you want to be able someone to say and fairly quickly understand what it is you're trying to build or what that product's end use actually is? I can tell you for building my own brand, Piper and Mint, I had many name iterations, many Instagram handles, a few domain names, to be honest. And I'll share this because this was one that
because you had one that was pretty much it.
I mean, I had one I was going down a pretty big path on, which was called Mojave Moms. And so I'll explain this to you. So Mojave is a desert. It's dry, and our pajamas help keep you dry, right, for night sweats. And we launched in the postpartum space. So in my head, that all made sense, right? Oh, it's kind of cool though. It's a little aesthetic. And again, this was years ago that I had that name idea. It was just kind of vibey with Southwest and all those things. But when you spell Mojave, it's spelled Mojave. And I had a few people actually say that when I was telling them or showing them the brand name. And I was like, ooh, that doesn't feel good. And if people are trying to type in Mojave that don't speak Spanish or might not know that a J is an H, right, in Spanish, and actually types in H, and I mean, it sounds silly, but
it doesn't. It doesn't. I'm laughing because I remember when we were at Abercrombie, I worked on a Hollister project, and it was La Jolla Beach.
Oh yeah,
but everyone kept saying La Jolla in the meeting, and I was like, oh geez,
yes, it's so true. So that was one thing, and now in hindsight, it's so funny. And I left that name obviously for many reasons, but man, I am so glad I did not attach the word mama to my business because now, as you know, I launched in the postpartum space, but I'm speaking to women at all stages of their life now, especially this perimenopause, menopause. And if I was ostracizing those women by having my brand name say mama in it, some of them are not mamas. Like some of those women have not had children and chosen to not have children, or for whatever reason do not have kids. And now, that would just be another barrier for entry, I think.
But even if you had, you would see that sign like across the room and be like, that's not for me.
That's not for me.
Totally. I'd be like, okay, I am a mom, but like I'm not a mom to an infant anymore. I am like blinders on to anything baby oriented because I don't have to deal with it. So I choose to ignore it.
100%. So, that would have been segmenting my brand even further. And I didn't know, but the universe had my back. And instead I leaned into the mint properties. And for me, people ask like, oh, what is Piper and mint? Well, it did the scientific name for mint, because there's mint infused in my yarn. So the scientific name is Piperita mentha. And Piper, yes. So mentha rayon is actually like the scientific name of my type of yarn that I use. And so I wanted the mint piece because that was my brand differentiator. And like, it's very blunt by saying Piper and mint, right? It's pretty clear. But Piper at the time, a couple years ago, was a trending baby name. And so I was like, well, it kind of plays in the baby name, but also plays on the scientific name for mint, which is Piperita mentha. So
I love it so much.
That's kind of how I got to Piper and mint, to be honest, was like really standing for my brand differentiator, kind of playing on the riff of a baby name, because again, it was postpartum launch, but then also had that scientific, inspiration pull. But I remember I had the product pretty locked in and I still did not have a name yet.
It's funny that you mentioned the scientific name, because my first iteration of my home decor brand was called Grandiflora. And that is the scientific name for the Magnolia grandiflora, which is like the giant white flowers. And it was just my favorite flower. Yeah. So I used it. I ended up changing it for various reasons. We can get into that later. But so you did not have the name locked in 100%, but you had your product.
Yeah. Yeah, and it took a while. And I remember I had lists of adjectives and nouns and going into the thesaurus, and chat didn't exist back then. So, I was just like Googling and through a web of all of this, I landed on it. And to be honest, even today, I'm like, yeah, it's okay. Like, I'm not someone that's like, it's the end all be all names. Like, no, but it's become a life of its own. And so now it is what it is.
If you're building a product-based business and finding yourself second-guessing decisions or wishing you had someone to gut check, we want you to know you don't have to do this alone.
On January 1st, we're opening the Sourcing Gals Founder Circle, our private community for product-based founders.
Inside, you'll get monthly Q&A calls with us, access to our templates, scripts, and tools, and most importantly, a community of founders building right alongside you.
It's only $27 a month, or for a limited time, $247 for the year. That's 3 months free. You can find all the details in the show notes. Hope to see you there.
But I also think that is very smart. I think that if you are in love with the name of your product forever and ever, that doesn't happen often. Like, I even think of some of the brands I've worked for where they're like, whatever, it was what it was then. And now it's just like how we're known. So we're going to go with it. But that's okay. Yeah. Like, you're not marrying it.
Yeah. I mean, they have to love the product, right? Yes, sure. The name's important and you want to enjoy seeing it on a hang tag, on a marketing piece, right? But yeah, my point is you don't even, the name can be the first thing you think of, or it might actually be one of the later things you think of, to be honest. And I'm glad, because as my product evolved, Piper and mint wouldn't have made sense in my first iteration because I didn't have mint in my fabric. So it was really that R&D process for me and the development process for me that led me to my name. So
I think that's fabulous. I think that you touched on something that is really important, which is A, you can iterate. B, nouns, adjectives, like just get out that thesaurus, get out chat and just list. When I developed my jewelry brand, I actually did use chat. And so the brand's called Goccia, and it's these little gold orbs, and each orb represents a member of your family. And I was like typing into chat, like, here's the concept, here's what I want to do, here's what I want it to represent. I want it to be a little bit like upscale. It can be a French or an Italian take on the word, but I want it to kind of mean like small drop of gold, because they were these tiny drops, and I kept calling them drops. I was like, they're drops. And so then I found out that gotcha means like little drop in Italian. And it also means gotcha, like I gotcha. I gotcha.
Yes.
Like for your
Cute.
family. Now I do have to spell it for people, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But it's short, Goccia. So it wasn't that big of a deal. And also similar to what we said earlier, it's like a fashion jewelry thing. So what it's called doesn't really matter all that much.
But the things you just said, the fact that you wanted it luxury, so you thought French, Italian, right? Like you gave it a vibe, again, a Pinterest board, a mood board per se. And I love that working with chat to pull that out of what that could mean. Keywords, phrases, again, no different than Piper coming from Piper Rita on my end, and you knew it was little drops and coming from. So I think those are all the really fun, creative ways that you can approach how to name your product.
And interesting because you're, Piper and Mint, but in the jewelry space, when I was doing this, there were a ton of new jewelry brands popping up that were like blank and blank.
Yeah.
Blank and blank with an ampersand. And I was like, I don't want to do that on purpose. I don't want to do that because this is a trend in the jewelry industry right now. And I need to do something that's set it apart.
Yeah. And to be fair, Piper and Mint, it was a trend that I was playing on fully. It was Cat and Jack and this and like, so it truly was a trend. And again, looking back on it, it's fine. Again, I don't like lose sleep over my name, but I think that's smart though, to actually be able to say that is the trend and I actually want to do something different.
Yeah.
Like that's just as important too.
Especially just because I didn't have very many other differentiating points.
Yeah.
Like upscale custom jewelry is a crowded space. So, my differentiator being that you get to build your kind of family system in a piece of jewelry was the thing, but I wasn't going to be differentiating with like a name really.
So then let's talk about this. You come up with the idea, you come up with your name, and then you start doing the actual research. So obviously, once you come up with an idea, another reason to not get totally married to it is because you have a couple barriers for entry, right? We already talked about an Instagram handle. We already talked about GoDaddy, a website, a URL, right? And then there is a trademark search, right? You can literally go and it's public domain to like kind of go search on your own as a first sniff test of trademarks. And I would suggest you do that. Again, chat can totally help you get you to the right link there. And then if all of those signs are green, if those things are looking promising, the URL's available, the Instagram handle's available, from your layman search on a trademark, USPTO, US patent trademark, USPTO, I think is what it's called. We could drop the link in the show notes below. But if all those are looking promising, then I would say you're ready to go to the next step, which might be actually hiring a lawyer, or I know you've done a lot of this stuff on your own personally.
Right.
Have you done trademarks on your own as well?
Yes, I have. And so one of the interesting parts about my story is that the Instagram handle was not available. The URL was not available, but trademark was.
Weird.
Yeah. And because your trademark associates with the industry you're in as well.
Oh, yes.
So someone could have Goccia and it could be, I think it was a restaurant, but that doesn't apply because I have a jewelry company. So it actually did not cross over. So I was allowed to do the trademark for my name as a upscale gold and silver custom jewelry provider. Like
Got it.
All of those things matter.
Yes.
So what I did, because this is, kind of that next step, is that the domain wasn't available. It went to the restaurant or whatever. The Instagram wasn't available, but Goccia Jewelry was. So I ended up using that Goccia Jewelry because obviously people know how to spell jewelry. It made it not only really straightforward, it was available, and it also is a descriptor of my product.
Yeah.
So it kind of did the things that my name as a standalone didn't.
Yeah, that's great. And you saved yourself a lot of time and money not having to try to buy somebody out
of their domain,
which people can do, but it is expensive. So a lot of times you guys will see when you go online or on Instagram, there'll be a shop dot or a company name dot shop or there's lots of creative ways you can tag on the front end or the back end
or
to
just
that
co
point. Yes.
On the end or something.
Yeah. LTD co, right? To if you're really married to your name. And again, if that trademark is available within your segment of product category, but someone happened to be camping, probably me, on your Instagram handle.
You know what? I think about one often, and I don't know if this is still a crossover, but American Eagle used to have that because it was also, American Eagle is also the commuter line for American Airlines.
Yes.
So I think theirs was like Shop American Eagle or I don't know what it is now,
Yep.
but it used to be that it was like a little bit off because of that. And I always think that that's like a very public facing example of what we're talking about.
Yeah. So there's a lot of fun, creative ways to approach it. And then you need to really be tactical about the realness of actually locking that in once you get it, once you find it, once you have it, to protect yourself, right? To protect your brand, protect your product. And then you can really start the fun journey of the marketing and really getting and the logo, right? All the fun things that will happen after that. But before you get too far down the road, like I said, make sure you're doing your homework. Make sure you are protecting yourself and working through all those different platforms. I mean, even, think about TikTok, think about if you're going to be on LinkedIn, does that matter, right? When you Google it, what else comes up? Like what else comes up? What else appears? Are you going to be fighting when you talk about Google AdWords or any type of meta spend, right?
So
like
smart.
people are searching you on Amazon. Like all these things are just good knowledge to know. And I also don't want to say if something is similar, that you can't do it, but you really just got to make sure that yours is going to stand out.
It's going to be a different adventure for you.
Yeah.
If you are always fighting for individuality when it comes to your brand name.
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to mention too is like looking, if you have a name that has multiple words, like looking at the acronym. So there are brands I've worked for, we internally always say the acronym and like make sure it doesn't spell something that is that you don't want.
Yeah. Inappropriate.
Like what if it spells ass or something? You might be like, oh, okay, well, let's rethink that. I don't know. Or even like my daughter's initials spell mess. And I'm always like, she's like, did you do that on purpose? Is that kind of, I was like, no, I didn't, but I didn't know that going into it. But same as when you're naming a child, you're going to look at it, you're going to yell it, you're going to look at the initials, you're going to make sure it's something that kind of like rolls off the tongue that, so you're going to give it that test.
Yeah. But like I said, before you start investing money in logos, in true marketing, just make sure you have crossed your T's, dotted your I's, and then really locked it in. So that's what I got, I think.
And then I'm going to give one more.
Yeah, go for it.
Just try it out on like some labels or something.
Oh, I like that.
Especially if you have a piece of apparel and you're going to be putting on labels, like, is it long? Because I remember even with Abercrombie and Fitch, it was so long that we would have trouble sometimes on vertical labels.
Yeah.
So we had a moniker. We had the A and the F.
Yeah.
Fine. But I worked with another brand, a jewelry brand later on that had a longish name. And when we were using vertical labels, it was really hard. And they didn't have that. So we would always be like, should we do a symbol instead? Or so looking at it on however you are going to market your product, like how are you putting this on the product? Can you get your product name on your product?
Yeah. That made me think of, one more thing actually. When coming up with a name, also, you can start to ideate a bit on the graphic component of your logo or name, because that might also take you to a place that even if you're not totally loving the name, you think, oh, but I can turn this letter into this. And then all of a sudden it breathes new life in it. The reason why I say that is when I was in high school, I had a brand called Jackie Valentine, and I was born on Valentine's Day. So I was like, right, all the things. And I remember being like, yeah, I like it, but I don't know if I love it. But it took a friend of mine showing me, but look, you can take the V and then make a little really loose heart top on your V, and all of a sudden now it's Jackie Valentine, but your V is a heart and it could be a logo. And I was like, oh my gosh, that totally did it for me. So, right, sometimes, and talk about a long name. It was a long name and it was not ideal to have. Those labels were a little long, but sometimes there might even be like the words are a part of it, but then if there's a fun riff on that, it might also bring more character and life to just your name. That might make you think like, oh, okay, that actually is unique. Like that is, something different. Another way to look at it from just being like a serif font, right, in your brain.
Absolutely, 100%. And there are a lot of brands that are known just by like a single symbol as well. So that can always be part of your branding. So your name doesn't have to carry all of that weight across all of the branded elements of your product. But, if you have a name that's super long and you have a product that's super small, like something to consider.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great call out. Well, I'm going to maybe go clear a couple Instagram handles out. Like, I was going to tell, it's just a funny story. So we're at a golf tournament. My husband's in a golf tournament. And let's just say we were like a couple, cocktails in, and I'm on the golf cart with this very animated group of people. And we're talking about how there should be a podcast of people watching golf tournaments, like while inebriated. Because it was just the commentary from these guys was hilarious. And so
like drunk history, but for golf.
yes,
or something
but
like
for
that.
golf. We just thought it was funny, right, at the time. And so I had an idea for a name, and I grabbed it, and I still had the handle, and it was Shut the Four Up.
Oh my goodness.
So that's one of my many Instagram handles. I was like, one day this could be a podcast. And even though I don't like golf, which is also funny because most people in the cart, like, some guys play, but not everybody. So I thought, we were having our own our own podcast while all these guys were playing their tournaments. So
That's so funny because we had a domain name that was a play on the word for as well, because someone wanted this, like, I don't know, a golf brand. And my area code is 740. And so we did 74, FORE 740 as like this like area like golf brand. We did nothing with it. It just was like, we think this is clever. And then I'm going to give you one more. Someone can take this one. I did not own it, but I spend a lot of time whenever we ski, we usually go to Telluride. And every single time I go to Telluride and every single time I'm in the town and I have a couple drinks, I'm like, if someone doesn't have a towing company and name it Tow Your Ride, I don't know what they're doing with life. So that's a fun part. That's a fun part of branding.
So, yes. So if you just know, you guys, you have like, I think up to 8 or 10 Instagram handles. So when you think of things, just grab them.
Grab them.
Just grab. It's free. Doesn't cost anything. Just grab the handle.
But then it's like, it's fun and it's silly, but also you can ideate on it. You can think about it. You can stew on it. You can see, how is this going to work for me? Is this easy to communicate? All of the things we just talked about.
Yeah.
And then let the ones go that don't work, and you've made your choice.
Yeah, I'll let someone else shut the four up. Okay, well, we hope you learned a little something new today. Thanks again, Trixie, for the great question. That
Fabulous
turned into like a
question.
full episode here. And if you loved what you heard on this episode, we ask that you please like, share, comment, send us your questions. Truly, like, we want to hear what you want us to talk about, what you want to learn more about. And a lot of these things are teaching us too. We're getting to go in and learn ourselves. So we just hope that you keep sharing. And for all the DMs, thank you. The email reach outs, we love it. Be sure you're signed up for our email, by the way. If you go to thesourcinggals.com, scroll to the bottom, you can sign up for our email list where we're going to be giving free webinars, information, all the things coming out on our email. So be sure to opt into it. That's all I got for today. I'm tired. I'm ready to go have a cocktail myself right now.
Well, we have a meeting.
Gosh. Oh, with cocktails.
With cocktails.
Yes, with bubbles. This
All
meeting calls
right.
for bubbles. So.
It does. Well, thank you guys for coming and joining us for another episode of
The
Sourcing Gals.